Well, it's been a week of tumultuous events in Zimbabwe. The world watched stunned as a soft military coup resulted in the resignation of President Robert Mugabe after 37 years at the helm. For a closer look at some of these unprecedented developments, we're joined in studio by Pan Africanist, Zimbabwe's constitutional lawyer and governance expert, Brian Kagoro. Good afternoon, Brian, and welcome to the SABC News Desk. Always a pleasure to chat to you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's been quite a week, Brian. Mugabe chooses to resign rather than face the humiliation of being impeached after a soft military coup. And I have to ask, after everything that's happened this week, can it stand up to constitutional scrutiny at this point?
Very little stands up to constitutional scrutiny. The process followed was rushed. It would have resulted in him not getting sufficient time to be heard. He's holding on after it was clear that he no longer had control of the state. Seemed bizarre. The idea that he could determine who's going to be president, the idea that ZANU thought that they could do a recall on the president seems somewhat weird, because the constitution that they agreed to in 2013 does not have a right of recall. I think that what we are learning is that politics will resolve this, and not necessarily the constitution. It also exposed the gaps in the 2013 constitution, and I'm quite sure many people will want this filled.
Yes. Brian, the military really trying and of course succeeding to putting a stop to dynastic politics, if you want to call it that. But some rights groups are saying that the army's actions were a violation of the constitution, and it really puts into focus Section 208 of the Zimbabwean constitution that states that the military should be non-partisan and not involve itself in partisan politics. What do you make of it? And is it likely that we're seeing the start of the military playing a bigger or more aggressive role in the political space in Zimbabwe going forward?
No, the military is not starting now. It started in 2000. After the loss in the referendum, the slow takeover by the military. Okay, by 2008, you understand from Mugabe and others that the MDC had won, and it is the military that said they would not support or salute anyone without liberation credentials. This is not the beginning. This is the public and most overt manifestation of a military control of civic affairs in Zimbabwe. Now it's been more nuanced than that. So it's not a soldier standing control. It's been the military extended through the broader securocratic state, that those people who are more aligned to the military are preferred generally for governance. So all your democratic processes amount to very little if they do not assuage any sense of unease within the securocratic state. So, and let's think about what this so-called dynastic presidency is, because we may oversimplify it as only reference to Mugabe, his wife, and their children, and relatives. The dynastic presidency refers to all the top 4, top 5 folk within the administration that's left and the administration that's going in are all embedded at various levels of the politics. Mnangagwa's wife is a member of parliament. She inherited the constituency from Mnangagwa when he became vice president. You could go on down that list. So embedded in the ZANU governance culture right now is a dynasty formed around not familial ties, but formed around those who were in the war and those who belong to certain regions or to the same regions. And that was the fight. That was essentially the fight, that there was an attempt, at least according to Tim Lacoste and co., not only to leave everything important to the Mugabe family, but also that a certain region or certain regions in the country had an unfair and an inequitable share of these. So dynasty must be understood in its broadest terms.
Yes. Brian, we are running out of time. What should be done right now to ensure good governance and much needed economic recovery for Zimbabwe? So
clearly the constitution needs to be revisited, number one. But number two, there needs to be stronger accountability mechanism for both historical injustices but present. The country has to move towards national healing, truth and justice. If it doesn't, it will unravel again. The third thing that needs to happen is a concentration on the economy, on 3 sectors: structural transformation of the economy, the industrialization agenda, but a more inclusive approach. I think that you may have to revisit certain policies that were passed by this administration There are simpler things like visas on arrival for all Africans would increase phenomenally the number of people visiting Zimbabwe, especially in this moment where Zimbabwe has become a news item. And that would have domino effects within the economy. So there's a lot that could be done. ICTs, if we, instead of trying to control ICTs, if we expanded the reach of ICTs in Zimbabwe, it would enable all forms of business, online business and other forms. It would minimize costs. Energy. One of Zimbabwe's biggest problems at the moment is water, energy, and this is hampering industrialization, and it will hamper agriculture. So there's a need to concentrate on the energy mix and look at the renewables and what that energy mix could do for industry, as well as just general functionality of the country.
Brian Kagoro joining us on the desk this afternoon. He's a constitutional lawyer and governance expert on Zimbabwe. Thank you for your time on the SABC News Desk.